Hi, I'm Tara from Marathon Mates. On this episode, we're going to show you how you get the most out of your Garmin. There are so many functions and stats on your Garmins these days that it can be difficult to know and understand what they are all about and what they do, and whether or not they are actually really important. We're going to talk about the key metrics and look at how we look at those metrics to monitor our health and our performance and our recovery. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
Welcome to the thrilling world of the flying runner, brought to you by the Marathon Mates.
Everyone, and welcome back to the Flying Runner podcast, our 51st episode. Thank you for all that have joined in for our episodes and listening to us consistently. On this episode, we are going to talk about our Garmin watches and what they can do to help you improve your performance and your health and well-being, and of course your running. Now, don't worry too much if you've just gone out and bought yourself the latest Polar or Chorus watch or Apple. They are all got very similar functions, so please don't stress about that. It's just that we're going to focus only on Garmin's because that is what we run with. Now, you can also use an Apple Watch because it has the similar functions as well as the Chorus and the Polar, but that's okay. But before we do that, I'd like to welcome my marathon mates, Tim and Tony. Gold Coast Marathon is just around the corner. We're getting, about 3 weeks out? Is that right, guys? 2 weeks. I'm so sorry. How are your tapers going?
Well, yeah, I guess my taper started on the weekend unintentionally. So we're 3 weeks out. I'm really actually looking forward to getting this one done and then start training again with Sharon, because I know that at the moment my load's a bit heavy and I'm feeling it, and I'm guessing I'm just missing running with Sharon as well. So yeah, we took on Saturday. My goal was to go 32K and Sharon's was to go as long as she could. I pulled up stumps at 11.5K because I had a bit of a sinus headache all week, and I still had it on the while I was out running Saturday. So I made the call that was enough for me. My heart rate was a bit high, so I just dropped it right back and didn't necessarily worry too much about it. And backed up on Sunday with what I thought was going to be a 20K at least to try and do the Ks in 2 run. But yeah, once again, just thought, better off it at about 12 and just made a light week. So yeah, that was a little bit of a just a change of pace, and I guess I'll be coming into the Gold Coast Marathon very refreshed, because instead of having that as my longest run and then tapering from there, I think I've started my taper already. So yeah, it's all good.
There's definitely nothing wrong with starting that taper a little bit early either, because I know myself, after Boston, I haven't trained anywhere near as close to the performance that I normally would for Gold Coast. As probably most listeners know, Boston really threw my confidence a lot. So this week was my longest run for Gold Coast, and doing what we call the triple, which is the half marathon followed up by the 5K on the Saturday, and then the full marathon on the Sunday. I really should be doing much more distance than what I am, but I only got to 25Ks this weekend as well. I'm not too stressed about it. I've done this before, and once again, as I always say to everybody, it's finish lines, not finish
Mm.
times. I don't really care about my times, finish lines. How about you, Tim?
I just want to just throw in, plus Sunday was really cold. And
Sunday was cold, yeah.
like here we are, Queenslanders, and we whinge and bitch all through summer that it's too hot. And we all say, geez, I'm looking forward to the cold weather. And it gets cold, and it was cold. And it just didn't feel, it was just a taper start a week early. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Gold Coast.
And I'll put in there for all the people that are listening from overseas or anywhere else that's not Brisbane. Our cold was 10 degrees Celsius. So
Celsius.
10 degrees Celsius. That is cold for us. Like that is like really, really cold. We're not used to that sort of cold. So Tim and I both started in singlets and shorts for our run on Sunday, and it took me probably about 5 Ks to warm up, and I'm sitting there just going, I wish I had worn a t-shirt and jumper. So yeah. Anyway, Tim, I think you did 33 Ks. Is that right?
Yep. Hello, Tony. Hello, Tara. I've just been sitting here listening away. It's been good. We started the weekend. We did our park run. We went to Surfers Paradise park run down the Gold Coast. And as usual, we ran into some friends. We ran into our friend
we've got Tammy and Kim.
Tammy, yep, Kim and Tammy, and we also met up with Karen and her husband Trent. So it was good. We got to run a new course. We haven't run Surfers Paradise course before, and I went out. I would just cruise through it at about 25 minutes or so, so pretty easy pace for me. And all I could hear, because there was multiple cutbacks backwards and forwards, all I could hear from about 100 meters away every time I came up to Tara was her just talking away to her friends, to Tammy. So, yep, you're right, Tony. She talks an awful lot. But yes, it was good to get out and run a different one. And yeah, everywhere we go, we tend to find somebody. You're right, Tara. Yes, on Sunday I did run 33 Ks. I ran it non-stop. I felt very good, very comfortable. I felt I was just going at a nice, comfortable, even pace. But when I looked at my pace afterwards, it was about the same rate I went last week when I thought I was going a bit harder. So last week I went out faster and then died towards the end. This week I just kept a nice, even pace the whole way through and had a very flat pace graph on my Garmin, which was pretty cool in the end. Even felt like at the end of the 33 Ks, I could have probably knocked out the extra 9 Ks and run out the whole marathon, which I don't think I've ever felt that fresh at the end of 33 Ks ever before. So, I feel good. I'm ready to do the marathon. I'm ready to do the triple. It will be different on the day, obviously, when I'm doing the marathon, because I would have done the half marathon and the 5K the day before. But the body's ready. I'm ready. Mindset's in a positive place. I've still got a bit of a twingy calf, but they'll go between now and then. So yeah, everything's on track for me.
And it should be an easy half and 5K with you, because you're doing the half and the 5, or the half with myself and our son Patrick, and the 5K with me afterwards. And now that's just going to be a bit of a cool down run for what's coming up ahead for the next day. So Tim and I are actually running the marathon separately. I have no aspirations of any time at all for the marathon. I just want to finish. I'm going to have some fun. At around about 32 Ks, I will get a banana, because that's where either one of our kids, or maybe both of our kids, or somebody hopefully will pass me a banana, and I will walk for the 1 kilometre and then continue on. I have no aspirations of how I'm going to finish the rest of the marathon. I just want to finish. Tony, what about you? Have you got aspirations of the time, don't you, I believe?
Yeah, I'm going to get a PB, and and I'm just not sure how good that PB is going to be. So I've got a time in mind. I'm going to put it out there that as long as I can beat 5:30, I'll be really happy, because my best official time is 5:45, and of course I run that with Sharon. So I think I'll break 5:30 relatively easily. But as long as I break 5:30, I'm going to be happy. So I think what this training block has shown is that I've probably got the ability to break 5. I just don't want to put that pressure on myself at the moment for the first time that I'm running by myself. So I just want to make sure I can break 5:30, see how I feel, and then have another crack next year at Gold Coast. So I think Gold Coast will be my one marathon every year that I just have a crack at, and just try to get better at. So yeah, that's
Plan
my
A.
thought process.
Plan A, Plan B, and a Plan C.
Yeah,
That's what you need to worry about.
Sharon's just aiming to beat the cutoff. So, which I think is 7 hours for Gold Coast. Correct me if I'm wrong. So,
Maybe
6:30, maybe.
yeah. I thought it was 6.5, but
I'm not sure. I'm with Sharon though. Like, I really don't care as long as I finish before the cutoff. I really don't care.
Yeah.
And
so
I did it in Boston by 4 seconds. So if I can do it in Boston, I can do it in Gold Coast. That's my
100%. 100%.
So are we looking at some news? Thanks for that, Tim. And what's been happening around the world of running these past few days?
All right, thanks, Tara. Couple of news articles that have come out. First thing is, this is the headline that I saw: Mongolian runner set to beat Kipchoge in Paris. And I thought, whoa, that sounds like an interesting headline. Better go and have a look at that. So, Tony, Tara, if I said the name Surod Bat-Ochia, what would that mean to you guys?
He's the guy that's going to beat Kipchoge.
Yes,
in Paris.
Exactly. That's the next line on my sheet here. So, Sir Odd, let's just call him Sir Odd. SER-OD is from Mongolia, and apologies if I've mispronounced his name. He is qualified for the marathon representing his home country of Mongolia, and Paris will be his 6th Olympics in a row, having first started competing in Athens in 2004. So he's completed every marathon since Athens in 2004. And as this is his 6th Olympics, he will beat Kipchoge, who is representing Kenya for the 5th time at the Olympics. So Surod was set to miss out, but with the late change of rules around qualifying times, similar to how we talked about last week with Liam Adams qualifying for Australia, Sir Odd has now earned himself a place in the starting field in Paris. To give you some history, in Athens, he finished 75th. In Beijing, he finished 52nd. In London, he came 51st. In Rio, he came 91st. And he was a DNF in Tokyo. So he started but was unable to finish. So in addition to that, he's also competed in every World Championship marathon since 2003, meaning he would have run 17 consecutive straight global events when he lines up in Paris. So that's World Championships and Olympics. Sir Odd is 42 years old.
Wow.
So along with the 3 Aussies and, of course, Kipchoge, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he goes in Paris. And I wish him all the best, I guess. It's going to be an epic run. And you'd think at 42 years of age, he's probably got room to be able to maybe go another time and go for a 7th Olympics in LA in 4 more years' time, maybe.
There's hope for me yet.
You got to love stories like that. So good luck.
Yeah. I think that's what the Olympics is all about. I like all those sort of people that have qualified, the hard workers that don't really get a lot of recognition anywhere else, but they turn up to the Olympics and you see them and you see them perform and they're doing their best, and that's all you can ask, right? Now, speaking of Paris, last week or during the week, they've released the medals for the mass participation event. So Paris is unique. It's going to be the first ever Olympic Games where they've allowed the public to race in a marathon event. And the marathon event will run on the same course as the athletes will run. It'll run on the evening between the women's and the men's events. And it will start at 9 p.m. on that evening. This year they are doing it. They've announced the medals, and the medals have been publicly put out there. Tony, maybe we can put up a photo at some stage on our Facebook page or social media at some stage anyway. But the medals look really impressive. It's hard to describe them without seeing them, but basically they feature the official 2024 Olympic Games logo, which is the Paris logo, along with a logo for the race sponsor, of course, Orange Telecommunications. Heaven forbid having a sponsor's logo on a medal. Geez, you wouldn't think about that if you were doing Boston, would you? And on the other side, on the reverse side of the medal, it has a maze-like finish of the numbers 42 to represent the distance that's run, and 24 for obviously the year that it is. So actually, I really like the design of those medals. I've put a picture in front of you guys. You can have a look at them. What do you guys reckon?
I
You like
actually
them or you
really
don't like
like
them?
them. No, I
Yeah.
really do like them. They're really, really nice. I'm just looking at the ones that you've put up there, though, Tim. I can see the front and the back. One of them is sort of like an indented
Yeah,
look, and
maze-like. Yeah.
and one of them is more engraved, I guess. Which one is
Yep.
which?
I think it's the one on the left.
Okay.
As you're looking at it,
Oh.
it's the maze one.
I really like it. It's nice. And as a participant, I think I don't like running at night, but I think I would run at night for that medal. So yeah.
Yeah. There's 20,024 runners registered for the event. So
Oh, wow.
why 20,024? Because it's 2024. So yeah, I like them. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I'm like Tara. I'm not a big night runner, but I reckon I could probably stay up and to run that. That medal looks okay. That looks cool. So, yeah.
It just means that would be finishing after like 2 o'clock in the morning, Tony. Our time. So yeah. Look, that's normally when I'm getting up for a run, so that's okay. You can try it.
I remember when they talked about it and they put out the registration. It sounded like a really good idea. Fly to Paris, do the marathon in the Olympic, but then when you sort of started thinking about it, airfares would be horrendous, accommodation would be horrendous. I really, it does make it hard if you're not a local. I would think if they did this in Brisbane in 2032, it would be an awesome thing to do. But again, it's really only locals who are going to do it.
But a big shout out to my remedial massage therapist, Nikki, who is running that marathon. So she's in great shape. She ran New York 10 years ago, and her husband, Dolph, is telling me she is in great shape and will flog the time she did in New York, which I believe was about 3:38. So it'll be really, really interesting. Nikki, well, congrats on getting there. I think it was a ballot type process, but really looking forward to seeing what you can do. So that'll be awesome.
Congratulations, cool. Nikki. Are we looking forward to listening to your story afterwards? Absolutely.
Yep. Now, there's one last little bit of news here, guys. It's just a bit of an update on the flying runner. Tony, Tara, how good's your Spanish?
Yeah.
Hola.
Well, Tony, as you know, this week we've rated in the top 22 running podcasts in Argentina. How awesome is that? In addition, we continue to rate highly in Sweden, Great Britain, the USA, and Ireland. And we'd like to thank all of our regular and new listeners. It's amazing to see where this little podcast has really turned up around the world. What you see on the screen is what it is. It's just the three of us at the moment producing it, recording it, putting it all together. But it seems like we've hit the right spot with our listeners. I think they like what they're listening to, and it's starting to spread around the world. To be the top 22 running podcast in Argentina is just phenomenal. So we really like to thank all of our listeners, and particularly our new listeners in Argentina. We've got to do a world tour at some stage and go and meet the fans, I think. We've got to work out how we can do that.
It defies logic that and you failed to mention Japan. So Japan just
Japan,
does my
that's
head in.
another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's very humbling to know that
Mm.
there's people right around the world that are listening to this podcast religiously, and thank you so much, because it really, we do it. It's a bit of fun. It starts the week off really well with us. We get to share some of our exploits and friends and family that we're really, really proud of out there in the running community, and to think that people are listening to us gibber on. It's just amazing. So thank
It
you.
is crazy.
And it is fun because we listen to our friends that listen to us and say thank you, or oh my goodness, I'm listening to you as we're running past them out at Sandgate or whatever. But I must say a big thank you to everybody else that is listening. It is nice to know that us, as Tony said, gibbering on is worthwhile. I know that when Tim and I have been overseas and we've been running overseas and we've been just running along and talking to each other, and people have actually gone, oh my God, I know those voices. They're from the Flying Runner podcast. And it's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize we'd reached this far. So it's nice to actually hear other people say, we know those voices. So thank you to everybody that is listening. It is lovely. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And look, if any of our listeners, wherever you are in the world, if you want to reach out to us, the best way to contact us is through our social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Just search for the Flying Runner podcast. It's pretty simple. And if you've got any ideas that you want to hear us talk about, definitely reach out via those social media channels and let us know some of those ideas. Or if you want to be a guest on the show, definitely reach out as well. We're always looking for new guests to come on board as well. Over to you, Tara.
And thanks for that, Tim. All right. Well, I guess we should probably be talking about what we're actually on here for talking about. Now, please, to those that use Chorus, thank you. Polar or Apple, please don't think that we're admitting you from this podcast. It's just that we all use Garmin. Now, Tony has used Apple in the past as well, so he can put some input into the Apple side of things. But we're going to talk about our Garmin functions tonight, or today, whatever time you're listening to us. Running watches offer a huge range of functions, specifically designed to help runners optimize their health, their training, and their race day performance. So let's talk about more of what these beneficial functions are that they do. Now, we will talk to you about a specific function and what benefits they bring to you. Now, before I start, we're going to talk throughout a discussion about some of our metrics with you. So don't compare our metrics with your metrics, because we're all different people. But have you guys got your Connect app out? Yep, excellent, fantastic. And let's see how we all stack up. Now, as I said, we're not comparing to each other. We're not comparing to anyone else. We're just telling you about what these functions are. So I'm going to start with a function that I use and monitor a lot. And now that's the heart rate function. Now, for me, the heart rate function is really important. It tells me if I'm pushing it too hard or if I'm going too easy. Now, most Garmins have a monitor for your heart rate function continuously through the optical sensor on the back of your watch. You can also get the heart rate strap as well. I have used both the heart rate strap and the optical sensor on my wrist. I personally, with the newer Garmins, don't find too much of a difference, maybe 1 or 2 beats per minute. However, there could be differences with other people. So the benefit that it brings to us is it allows us to monitor our heart rate during our runs. And this thing can lead you to use a target heart rate zone. Now, Jen Kellett, who has been on one of our previous podcasts, talks about heart rate running and the MAF method. But your exertion levels are very, very important to how your heart rate goes. So I always say I run to feel, which is usually how my heart rate feels. But it talks about things like VO2 max and stuff like that. So Tony, do you want to talk a bit about the VO2 max for us, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an area that I probably didn't know a lot about when I first started out, but it's something that I've sort of tracked and had slight improvement in, especially over the last couple of years. So it's an estimate, and most of, a lot of the stuff that you'll see through your through some of the apps, it's an estimate, but it estimates your maximum oxygen uptake during intense exercise, and it gives you a level of indicator around your aerobic fitness. So the benefit, it allows you to monitor your improvements in fitness over time and set more informed training goals. So it really is it's something that I've seen improve within my scope, and I'm much closer to 60 than I'd care to admit. So it's something that's staring me right in the face. But with my VO2 max at the moment, and it sits at 40, which some people may think, geez, that's pretty low. But it's in the top 40% for my age bracket. And it's something that when I first started out was sitting around the 36. So over a period of time, it's increased up until 40. And I guess the challenge that I've had mentally with this latest training block has been that I have been in that intense zone a lot more, and I would have expected to see some continued improvement, but I've been flatlining at 40 pretty much ever since Chicago for me. So what about you guys? What's your where does your VO2 max sit, if you want to share, and what sort of improvements have you seen over time by being able to track it?
Yeah, look, VO2 max for you at 40, I think is very, very impressive, to be entirely honest, Tony. Especially with your rest recover method that you have been doing for 90% of your running.
Yeah.
I would say, and look, not saying you're old, but for your age,
I'm
I think
old.
I honestly think that that's very, very impressive. Health and your breathing takes a big part onto how your VO2 max works, on how your oxygen uptake is into your body. I know I have done a VO2 max professional one where you have the mask over your face, you're on the bike, you're on the treadmill, whatever you want to do. You know, you have the full seal thing. The difference between my VO2 max on my Garmin and the actual professional one is not much difference. I'm okay with where mine is. It could be a lot better, but hey, look, I probably sit in my comfort zone more than I need to as well. I probably could push a lot harder. But Tim, what about you? Are you happy with how yours sits?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm happy with it. I'm in the excellent range. I'm 47, which puts me in the top 20% of my age group. It's been higher in the past, but that's when I was a little bit more fitter and a little bit more stronger and probably more focused on my health than I probably am. Other things in life get in the way, and that's the thing we need to recognize is, we do live busy lives. We do work full time. We do podcasting part time. We do running part time. We've got family commitments. So, if you're an elite athlete, of course, you're going to be up in the superior range because that's what you do all day, every day. But what I do use it for is to monitor my longer term fitness and health. So ideally, I want to stay at 47 and bring it up into the early 50s. That would be ideal, but I don't really want to go backwards. The only other thing I've just noticed when I do go onto the app, there's a little button underneath your VO2 max that says view your fitness age, and I like that one as well because it shows that I'm 45 when I have a fitness age of 45 when my actual age is 49, so I'm almost 50. So it's saying that I'm about 5 years younger based on my fitness, which is a good place to be. So Tara, you're laughing because you think that I should be older or younger. She said,
Do I have to comment on that? Because we've been married for a very, very long time, and I'd like to keep it that way if possible, because it took me a long time to train you to be the way you are now for this amount of marriage. So,
so
I think I'll just shut up now.
yeah, so I think it's a very good function to keep you honest over a long period of time. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep. All right, so I'll go next. Training load and status is the next function on the watch. Now, the training load and status function analyzes your exercise data over a period of time to determine if your training is productive, maintaining, or overreaching. And I think we talked about this a week or two ago, and we talked about most people find this really annoying and they try to turn this feature off. But what it tries to do is helps you balance your training and recovery to try to minimize burnout and ensuring continuous improvement. So it can be a little bit annoying when you've done a really good run. You think you're feeling good, you've done a really good run, and then it says you're overreaching, or you're maintaining when you think you're being productive. So it can be a little bit pain in the butt, but at the same time, it's a good way. Again, that's another long-term way of being able to track. Am I thinking I'm doing better than really what I am, or is the watch the right thing? And generally, the watch isn't going to lie in that space. It knows you better than you think you do. Whilst you might feel comfortable and you might know how you're feeling or think you know how you're feeling, your watch is picking up other metrics. It's picking up things like your stride length. It's picking up your heart rate. It's picking up, your exertion levels going up and down hills, and your oxygen levels and all that sort of stuff. So it's using all that data to determine whether you had a good run, a mediocre run, or a poor run. And it's useful to listen to because it can help you with your recovery. I don't know. I know, Tony, I think you said you turned that feature off or you don't like it. Is that right?
Yeah, the training feature actually isn't part of my watch, but there was a feature that would tell me if I needed rest, and I just turned it off because.
Yeah. And Tara, you've talked about it before.
Oh, look, Mondays, every single Monday, I can guarantee you, my watch says, "Thank you for having a restful day," or something to that degree. Oh, your recovery has improved because of your restful day. Now, Mondays obviously are my restful day because I do my long run on Sunday. Yesterday, or I guess today that you'll be listening to this, is a Friday that we come out. So, look, we're recording on a Monday. I do my long runs on a Sunday. My Sunday long run this week was only 25 Ks, so it wasn't overly huge. But look, my watch this morning when I was sitting at my desk at work was going, "Well done on your restful day." Now, I've done a stretch and strength session. Man, that's too many S's all in one, isn't it? And my Garmin recognises the fact that I've only done a stretch and strength session rather than a run. So it's happy with me and saying, "Good work, you're recovering." However, in that recovery side of things, it also gives you the benefit of saying that when you should be planning your next session and how hard you should be planning your next session. So for me, my watch is saying to me tomorrow I can get back into things the way I would like to. So tomorrow I will do what is called a recovery run. So that will be going on the treadmill because I don't like to run outside by myself. I will be running to feel. Now that's a rate of perceived exertion, or RPE. So that doesn't mean that I'll be running at 12 kilometers an hour or 8 kilometers an hour or 10 kilometers an hour. That will be however I feel that I should be running, and that is what my Garmin tells me I should be running as well. And it also tells me how long I should be recovering after my long runs. So I really like the recovery side of my Garmin because it tells me don't run for a while, and I'm like, Okay, I'll do that.
So that is the next function, isn't it? The recovery time function, which is what you're talking about there, Tara, which
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
provides an estimate of the time needed to fully recover after a workout. Do you use that function much, Tony, or do you get that much, or you don't use that one? You don't have that one. Yeah, it's not too bad, but as Tara says, it can be a little bit painful at times.
Sometimes mine tells me that it's 72 hours, and I'm just like, there is no way that I'm resting for 3 days. So that's when I do my stretch and strength sessions. After I've done a stretch and strength session, my Garmin recalibrates itself and says, right, you're ready to start running again, because I can tell that your body is ready for it. So, yeah, that's why Mondays are important to me.
Yep.
So, Tony, do you have the sleep monitoring function on yours?
Absolutely, and that was the one of the big selling factors of why I like our brand is the Venue 2 from Garmin, and it was the one that closely resembled the Apple Watch, I guess, that we were moving away from. So just wanted to have very similar functions, I guess, to what the Apple Watch, but sleep monitoring is an absolute religion for me. It's something that I've been using, whether it was with the previous Apple Watch or whether it's now with the Garmin. It's just something that tracks my sleep. I've haven't had the world. I'm not the world's best sleeper. I use a CPAP machine as well, so to make sure that I'm not going to die in my sleep because I've snored too much.
Or Sharon putting the pillow over your head.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about the sleep monitoring is the fact that it tracks my. I've got the word for it. I've just got it just on the app as we speak. The Pulse Ox, which is the real killer when it comes to people that suffer from sleep apnea, where your pulse ox drops in your blood, which is your blood oxygen. Fundamentally, when it drops below a set level, it becomes quite dangerous, and that's one of the things that I really love about the sleep monitoring, is that every morning I can track to make sure that my pulse ox was above the 95, which is where you need it to be. But it tracks your sleep stages. It tells you when you've been in deep sleep, REM sleep, light sleep. When you get up to go to the loo, it'll tell you. It just gives you that real insight into your sleep quality. And the benefit, I guess, is that it just helps me understand, well, I need to get a really good understanding around my sleep, but it helps you with your recovery patterns. So normally the worst night's sleep I get is the night after a long run, because I am pretty stiff and sore. But then by the second night, I'm back into a good restful sleep pattern, which helps me recover.
So do you find with your REM and stuff like that, obviously that's your deep sleep, is that right? Yep,
Yes.
okay. So with that, are you supposed to have a certain amount each night, or does your watch tell you, for you personally, you need more or less? Or...
It'll tell me when I've had good levels of deep sleep and good levels of REM sleep, and how much has been light, and it'll give me some tips on, potentially what I need to be looking to get more of. So I've just opened it up now for how many restless moments you've had during the night, what your body battery charge coming up, your average respiration, your average SpO2. There's all of that sort of stuff that's sitting in there, your resting heart rate, heart rate. And the only thing that for people that, like, I'm pretty religious with my sleep. I always check it. One of the first things I do in the morning. But sometimes you can wake up feeling really restful, and your Garmin is saying you've had a poor night's sleep or something. You go, oh, that's weird. and sometimes it can make you feel more stressed than what you should be after having a good night's sleep. But mostly it's pretty accurate, so it's good.
Yeah. You should try it
Excellent.
tonight, Tara. It's not a bad function. I use it occasionally when I travel, and it gives you a lot of information about your sleep. It's amazing how little solid sleep you get during a night. That's when you look at the data.
Oh, look, for me, I'm one of these people that I go to bed and turn off the light and I go to sleep, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, I remember nothing. So I really should use that and actually look at what the data is. So that would be good for me.
Yep.
Tim, there is a Garmin coach side of things as well. Now, I know that on the watch itself, it only goes up to a half marathon. However, on the app, it can go up to a full marathon. So if you use the app, it goes for a full marathon. Have you ever used the Garmin coach side of things?
I haven't used the Garmin coach before. I know people who have, so it's a pretty cool feature. It basically what it does is it offers an adaptive training plan that adapts based on your performance and schedule. So basically, you let the watch take over your training program. The watch will work out how you're training, how you're running, and predict the next training day or the next training schedules that you need to do. So it's basically handing over control to the watch to say, rightio, I want to build up to this sort of distance, or I want to do this sort of running, or I want to run at this sort of pace in so much time. You'll develop a coaching or a training program around that, and you'll have a number of things that will come through to your watch via the app that will actually then tell you what training program. So you'll come through today saying you've got to do hill repeats at 200 meters long at 10 of those at 30-second intervals or something like that, and it'll build a program around it for you. So it's a pretty cool feature. I know, as I said, I know a couple of people who've used it and they say it can be quite challenging to keep up with the schedule, especially if you are leading a busy life, and you do become quite controlled by the watch, and it can be a little bit pain in the butt sometimes being controlled by the watch. But those that I know that have used it in the past did say that they noticed an improvement and they did get close to or achieve their goals that they'd sort of programmed into the watch at the beginning of the program. So it sounds pretty cool. One day when I'm probably not as structured around my training, it might be something that I might look at playing around with and tinkering with. But I don't know. I don't know if I could hand over the full control and just say, okay, well, what's coming up tomorrow, and then find it's 400-meter sprints or something like that, or it's a real long, slow, painful run for a couple of hours or whatever. I don't know if I could do it.
That's normally a Sunday for us, but look, I must admit, like when I hit the run button on my Garmin on a Sunday morning and it says you only have to run 45 minutes, and I know that I have a 3-hour run going on, and I'm like, oh, can I just follow the Garmin plan rather than my own? That really is a bit of a head mind thing, I guess.
Could you do it, Tony? Could you hand over control?
When I first got the Garmin, I set up a half marathon plan, and by day 2, I was annoyed with it, so I stopped it.
I do know a lot of people though that do it, and as Tim said, they do achieve well and truly in the time frames that they want, if not way better. So if you do want a good Garmin, if you do want a good half marathon training plan and you're not of any other plan that you want to use, definitely go for it. On your watch itself, it only does go up to a half marathon plan, but if you go into the app itself, it goes for full marathons and also ultra distances. So look into the app itself because it does actually do further than what your watch does. So yeah, which is good to know. I really do like the live track part of Garmin. Now, as some of you may know, I had a bit of a fall maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And the first thing that happens with my live track is it tells you set it up and you can tell your Garmin who you want as your live track people, and they can follow you. So I always have Tim as my live track person, so he can see, okay, Tara's going for a run. This is where she's going for. Now, it sounds a bit stalkerish, but it's not really. As
It's a
people,
safety function.
it's a safety function. Some of you may or may not know I had a bit of a fall probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was lucky enough to be with my son Patrick, or our son Patrick at the time. As soon as I fell, my watch started calling Tim, and it gives me like a 15-second countdown or something like that. If I do not respond within that 15 seconds, it will automatically call Tim, tell him my coordinates, and I can't talk to him, obviously. However, he can see where I am and he can call an ambulance for me. So it's really, really good if you are running by yourself. And I do know of many people that have used this, not just with Garmin, but also with Apple. So one of my friends' husbands came off his bike and ruptured, I think it was his kidney or his spleen. I'm not 100% sure on that. But she knew that he'd fallen off because his Apple Watch had actually alerted her that he'd fallen off. He was by himself, and she was able to call an ambulance for him and actually save him. Now, if I hadn't had Patrick with me, my watch would have actually alerted Tim to say, she's had a fall and this is what's happening. So the live track thing is really, really good. It's also good for a safety point of view. Now, we all know about Samantha Murphy and the poor outcome that's happened there. These sort of things can help with tracking later on as well. So the live tracks, I do highly recommend setting up an emergency contact and having the live track system there.
So it's also handy on race day to track loved ones or fans or family doing races, so you know where they are on the course if you're not running it. So if you're on the sidelines, you can then track where they are through live track as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how our kids used to track us before Life 360 and all of those things. Yeah,
that we use,
but yeah, they used to watch us so that they could know when to hand me my banana on my marathon day, obviously. Tony, we've got also the race predictor. Now, we were just talking about race predictor before the show started, and looking at my race predictor, I think Garmin's a huge liar, or else really optimistic. What do you think of the race predictor?
If the Venue 2 had it, I'd be really happy, but no, it's just one of those other features that unfortunately we don't get. But and also the other one that I really dearly wish that we had was pacing pro strategies, which is something that also isn't available on the Venue 2. So but the race predictor sounds like it could be a little bit of fun, but I'm interested, Tim, what you think of it and what it actually means and what it takes into account.
So basically, a race predictor is providing a estimated finish time for common race distances based on your current training performance and fitness levels. So it basically takes things like your VO2 max, your training history, your running dynamics, and makes predictions. I think it's generally your best plus probably 10%. It's probably what I would say. Just looking at mine at the moment, it's saying my prediction for a 5K race at the moment would be 20 minutes and 14 seconds, which for me is about a minute quicker than what I could possibly go flat out right at this very moment. For me, it's saying a 10K race for me would be 43 minutes and 50 seconds, which possibly is about a minute or two faster than what I think I could run it in. A half marathon's 1 hour 40, which I would say is pretty close to what I think I could run a half marathon in right now. And then it's saying that I would get a PB in the marathon at 3 hours 42, which I always struggle with. The marathon's always the biggest variant one because I just have never ever got close to what my what my marathon predictor is. Even when I ran my PB of 3 hours 45, I think at that stage it was predicting a time of sub 3 hours 30. So
Wow.
they're never close, but at least you're right. It's just a talking point. And I think that's what most people talk about when they talk about their race predictor. It's always off, but it's a good idea. It's a good little app. It's a good little talking point, and I guess it gives you some self-confidence. Hey, I can go sub 4 hours and run a 3 hour 42 marathon according to my watch. So, it knows me better than I think I know myself.
My watch always gives me really false hope that I can run like 5K in 25 minutes and 15 seconds, I think mine says. And I'm just like, I don't know which world you're living in, but you obviously don't know my Friday nights before park runs. So anyway, Tony, yours doesn't have that function, obviously. Do you wish it did, or would you change your watch up to be like Tim and I think Tim's got a Phoenix 7 or an 8 or
Phoenix 7. Yep.
Phoenix 7. I think mine's a Phoenix, I don't know, maybe a 7 as well, but it's different to Tim's Phoenix because my watch battery is different to his. He's got this massive thing that sits on his wrist that looks like something that you could use in a spaceship, whereas mine's a little bit smaller. Do you wish you could change yours up to be different, or are you happy not knowing those stats?
Yeah, I don't think the race predictor is a make or break for me, but I'd love to have that pacing pro strategy being able to come through on the watch. I sort of make do with that. I mean, we do have the alert function that I can set fast pace and low pace strategies, and I'll be alerted when I hit that that slow pace, and that sort of sends that shock down the arm, and I kick off again. So I can utilize the alert function, but and that's also available for walk run. So I can set my interval timers on my watch without having to worry about pulling out the phone. So there are some things that are available. You can use the alert function on the Venue 2 for heart rate as well, so you can stay within your heart zones. So there are, but yeah, the race predictor is probably not a function that I'd be changing watch for.
No, it's not one that you would pay money for. It's good, but as I say, if you talk to a lot of people, it's good in the smaller and lower distance. It's reasonably close, but the further you go with the distance, the further the variability. But anyway, now Tara, there's a great function on there for women and tracking cycles. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's one on there for menstrual cycle. Sorry, my goodness, that word came out very weird. So for females, obviously, that are still menstruating or having the period, it's quite good because you can put your period cycles in. So it will tell you when you're in your optimum time for running as well. And for you guys, obviously, this is of no interest at all. But with females, there's certain times of your period or your ovulation cycle that you will run better than other times as well, because you've got more energy and more, probably just more energy, I guess is the best way to put it. So if you use that function and you actually track where you are, you can track when your period is going to happen. You can work your race days around it. But you can also work out, why am I running faster? Because with your menstrual cycle and at certain periods of your menstrual cycle, you will run faster or better. So that's actually quite a very, very good function for us females to use if you're still in that cycle where you're or perimenopausal or postmenopausal. Obviously, that's really of no advantage. But when you're at that point, it's really, really good. I do like, however, the interval training side of things, and I use that frequently, more so on the treadmill for me than anything else. And do you want to have a chat about that, Tim? Because I know you too.
Yeah, so it allows you to interval training allows you to create and execute interval workouts with specific durations, distance or rest period. So just same as what Tony was talking about. You'll set alerts up on your phone. It will beep, and you'll get a period of time where you have to do the interval, and then you'll beep again, and then you get a rest period, and then you go again. So it's really good. It's good at improving speed and endurance, and it creates that high intensity environment that you need. So again, it doesn't make you do it. It's just the beeping on the watch that you've set up. But as long as you follow the beeps and you do the beeps the way it's meant to do, you'll end up with that interval process happening there as well. So yeah, there's a lot of these functions out there. So I know we're starting to run short on time, Tara. So we might just quickly move through a
That's
few
all
of the
right.
others.
We'll go to body battery. Tony, do you want to talk about body battery for
Yeah,
us?
we sort of talked about
use
this
that-
a little bit last
Yeah.
week, and then I mentioned it a little bit during sleep. But basically, it measures your energy levels throughout the day. It analyzes heart rate, variability, stress, and activity. And it just, to me, it just, helps you gauge the best times for training and rest. So I'm sitting at a body battery at the moment of 50, which is pretty good for me towards the end of the day. Normally, I am much lower than that. So Tim just shared his on screen. What was that? 54 currently.
54. Yep.
And Tara, I know that
Yours will be
you're
low.
yeah.
What's yours, Tara?
24.
Yeah.
24. I'm at 24 and I haven't even run today. Oh my god, that's really sad. Anyway, let's not look at that anymore. I've obviously had a stressful day at work. Anyway, Tim, there's a virtual partner. Tell me about this one.
Yeah,
Because I
so
don't
the
know about
virtual
this.
partner, yeah, it's a new one for me as well. It sounds really interesting. So basically, it allows you to race against a virtual competitor to set a specific pace or speed. So it helps you maintain a consistent pace, push your limits, and to stay motivated by providing real-time feedback on your performance relative to your virtual partner. So basically, if you were saying I wanted to run a 1 hour 45 half marathon, it would set a pace of 5 minutes and would track you against there, and it'll give you every kilometre a plus or a minus based on how far or how much in front you are of your virtual partner that you're running against. So I think it would be more handier, obviously, in a training environment rather than in a racing environment, but it would help you in the racing as well to maintain a consistent pace or to hold a pace over a certain distance. And I'm not sure, I haven't used it before. I might give it a try after this one, but you may be able to set it so I can go quicker towards the end or quicker up front and slower in the middle and quicker again. I'm not sure how it works, but again, sounds like a pretty interesting, you know, tool or function on the watches that have them.
It might be very good for those races that you have that don't have the paces in them as well. So
Correct.
yeah, absolutely. So look, we've got some really good functions there on the watches that we've talked about. There are so many more, and as we said, there is Coros,
Polar, Apple,
Apple. There's so many. They all
Samsung.
have these sort of Samsung. Yep, they all have these same sort of functions on them. So we've got the cadence and the stride length calculations. They're very, very helpful to use. That helps you with how fast you're running, why you're running, etc. We've got the customized workouts that you can pre-program into there. We've got the route planning, so you can actually plan a route before you actually start your run on our Garmin's.
Very handy for trail running, so you can actually map out the trails you want to run, and then it will give you directions out there on course and a map on your watch, so you can actually work out where you've got to go. So it's pretty cool.
And Tim and I have used that one several times, so we don't get lost in the trail. We've got music storage and playback. I think some of them can go 500 songs or more. And that's quite good, like especially if you don't want to run with your phone, which is really good. We've got the auto pause function when you stop when you're running through traffic. I don't use that personally, but there is a lot of people that do use it, so that as soon as you stop, your watch stops as well. We've got the stress tracking, which monitors your daily stress, which is really, really helpful, especially if you're in a stressful environment for work. Helps you work out that you probably need to maybe either change jobs or have less stress in your life. There's Garmin Pay. Now, Tim and I use this one frequently because we go to the shops after or go for a coffee after our run, and we use the Garmin Pay function, so we don't have to take our wallet or a card with us.
Just tap and go on your watch. It's great.
Tap and go on your watch, exactly the same as you do for your phone. Now, there's also hydration tracking, so it will tell me how many litres approximately of water I have lost or fluid I have lost during my run, which is really, really helpful because I know how much of my hydration pack I have used and rehydrated with, how much I have lost, and if I need to rehydrate with a lot more.
It also tracks how much you put in as well. So you have to record how many liters of water you're drinking.
That's right. There's the respiration tracking, and I really like this one because there is the breathing side of things. Now, if you have asthma or heart conditions or anything like that, if you've had long COVID, it helps you with your respiration side of things, and it tracks it really, really well. So have a look at that respiration side of things. The pulse ox, which Tony has talked about previously with his sleeping and stuff like that, it also measures your blood oxygen saturation levels. So how much oxygen you're getting into your blood per breath as you're running. So the better you're breathing, the better your pulse ox is going to be, obviously. There is limitless amounts of information that is going to be there on your watch for you. You can use your watch for so much more than what you do. Just play around with it. Have some fun with it. Each watch is different, and even Garmin to Garmin is different, as Tony has pointed out. His Garmins are different to ours. Tim's Garmin does a lot more than what my Garmin does, and we're both Phoenix 7s. However, his is just a different model Phoenix 7 than mine is. Have you guys got anything else that you want to add that I've forgotten?
Just one last thing, Tara. So we haven't really talked about any of the apps that you can actually add on to your watch. So there's a whole heap of
the little widgets.
apps and widgets and all sorts of things you can add on there. One of the ones that we use quite often is the Parkrun app. So it actually has your barcode, which stores your Parkrun barcode on your watch, and it gives you a history of all the parkruns as well that you've done. So you don't need to use your apps or anything like that anymore on your phone. It's all on your watch. So, but yeah, there's, I don't know, a couple of hundred widgets and extra bits of software or apps that you can attach to your watch and other programs as well. So, which give you even more data and more things that you can capture. So it is really a limitless amount.
Yeah, I must admit, I do like the breathwork widget. That is a really good one for me. I really enjoy the breathwork one because it helps me with my breathing to think about when I'm running as well. So look, there's so many different ones. Tony, have you got anything else that you want to add?
No, I think we've done so well tonight covering everything. You know, there's all sorts of data fields that you can get depending on what sort of look that you want on your watch. So it is limitless, but you can get carried away with it. You can dive into the data, and I know I keep I've been keeping a spreadsheet myself just on tracking times and that towards the Gold Coast, so I can get a really good confidence level of where my base is and what I can potentially reach. But I think at times maybe you can focus too much on the data And I like it, Tara, when you say you run to feel, because, sometimes that's going to be the best starter that you can get.
Absolutely. The RPE is what I like to call that one, or the rate of perceived exertion. So you run to feel. So some days you feel like you can run at 5 kilometers per hour, and you look down at your watch and you're only doing 7 kilometers per hour, and you're like, that's okay, it doesn't matter. And then there's other days where you, as you've said yourself, Tony, where you're like, I'm running slow, but you look at your watch and you're doing really, really fast, and so it's all about rate of perceived exertion rather than actually looking at your watch.
Very much so.
Tim, we always have your tip. Let's go for it tonight.
So I think Tony's captured my tip there, but it's true. My tip this week is that the data is good. Know the metrics on your watch. Look at your metrics. Have a play around, as we said. But no one knows your body better than you. Despite what the watch might tell you, it does know your body, but you know it better. So if you are struggling with your running or becoming a slave to the watch, slow it down and just focus on your body. Listen to your body. Monitor your form so you prevent injury. And I guess that's the biggest thing. Some people get really carried away by the data, and they get so absorbed in the data. Oh, how am I going to make my cadence 5 centimeters longer than what it is? How am I going to do an extra stride length of this? How am I going to reduce my heart rate down to a zone 2 from a zone 3? And they get so worked up by the data that they forget to have the fun that they need to have when they're running. They forget that running is a fun thing that we do to get away from stresses in life, not to create more stresses. So don't be a slave to the watch. Don't be a slave to the data. Yes, it's there. Yes, understand it, but still enjoy the running. Enjoy it for what it is, fun. And, occasionally do a naked run, which is where you run without any devices on you at all, and just run for feel and run for comfort and for fun.
Thanks, Tim. Now that means don't not forget your clothes. Please run with clothes. That's really important. And Tim is right. Always listen to your body. We're not Olympians. We're here for fun. We're just out to run. Running should be enjoyable. Once running becomes unenjoyable and it becomes hard work, then you need to probably reassess why you're running. So before we're about to end, because I can see that we're running out of time here, Tony, do you want to talk to us about what's happening next week?
Absolutely. So next week we're going to be talking about the mental side of coming back from injuries. As we know, for many of us, running is about health and fitness, but when we miss runs or are injured, it can really impact upon our mental health and well-being. There are so many memes out there with runners in doctor studios getting the bad news about a fractured leg, and then followed by the runner going down to a running shop to get shoes with extra padding or something. So how do we deal with the mental our own mental wellness when we're coming back from injury? So next week we're going to be looking at how we can provide tips and tricks to keep you mentally strong while you manage that injury to bring you back into running in your best shape. As usual, we love doing these episodes, and it's certainly one that you should not miss.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Tony. Well, look, time has gone really, really fast tonight. So we'll my watch is telling me it's time. My Garmin watch has told me that it's time to wrap it up. So video of this episode will be available on Spotify, YouTube, and audio will also be available on Amazon and Apple and all the other popular podcast platforms. If you like this episode, my goodness, my wording tonight is really bad. If you like this episode, please like this episode and share on your tips and your tricks on our social media and our channels about what you liked about this episode and what you think we could add to it. Until next week, happy running.